This is episode number 178 with Andy Hnilo.
Reach your full potential. Reach your full potential. Reach your full potential. Small win, small win, small win. Keep your momentum going.
The Success 101 Podcast.
Welcome to the Success 101 Podcast. This is your host, Jared Warren, and each episode, my goal is to bring you a new concept or idea to help you maximize your full potential. Thanks for joining me here today. Now let's kick things off. Welcome back to another episode of the Success 101 Podcast. I'm so excited to have you guys here today for an incredible episode with my dear friend, Andy Hnilo. And if you're tuning in today and you haven't heard our first episode, episode number 120, please go take a moment and listen to that episode because it's packed with tons of information. We recap some of that episode here today to give listeners a little bit of perspective on what we're talking through, but you guys owe it to yourself if you're striving for higher levels of peak performance to go listen to episode 120, where we discuss a lot about Andy's routine, his rituals, how he brought himself back to health from a tragic accident, and a ton of stuff in between that you guys don't want to miss out on. Just a quick word from the sponsors today. My team still has my book available for just the shipping cost here in the United States. Go to success101podcast.com/book. And at checkout, enter the code SUCCESS101 in the promo or coupon section to snag yourself a copy for just the shipping cost. If you're international outside of the United States, you can grab the ebook reader. And my team has made it extremely easy to get the paperback version or the ebook reader, again, by heading to success101podcast.com/book. Choose the paperback or the e-reader and enter Success 101 in the promo code. I've also been getting a ton of comments from you guys who have ordered your shipments of Ample meal replacement drinks. Guys, Ample is unlike anything else out there when it comes to meal replacement. And my good friend Connor Young and his team have done a phenomenal job of creating a 400 or 600 calorie option that is packed with probiotics, prebiotics, super high quality fats from all around the world, unbelievable quality in the proteins, and a ton of ingredients that are going to help your brain and your body thrive throughout the day. To grab 15% off your order, head to success101podcast.com/ample, that's AMPLE, and at checkout, enter Success 101 in the promo code. Choose your 400 or 600 calorie meal and get ready to use this awesome supplement as you grind it out each day toward your own levels of peak performance. As you guys know, I test everything before I put it out there or promote it, and this certainly is one of my favorites. Again, head to success101podcast.com/ample, and in the checkout, enter Success 101 to snag your 15% off. Now, on to our awesome show with Andy Hnilo. Guys, I'm really excited about this one, as I mentioned. And it's been quite a ride for Andy, to say the least. As you'll hear today in our episode, or back in 120, if you go back and listen to that episode, which I encourage you to do as well, Andy woke up in an ICU hospital bed after being struck by a series of large vehicles while crossing a busy street out in California. He had a collapsed lung, 7 broken ribs, and a severe compound fracture of his jaw, which was broken in 5 places. His bones were actually exposed through the bottom. As someone who had always made a living from his appearance, after being one of Oakley's top models, one of LA's top models, and from soap operas to the big screen, and the execution of demanding physical tasks as an athlete, the outcome of this incident had far-reaching implications, as you can imagine. So what did Andy do? He approached his problem from a nutritional perspective, he rebuilt himself, and he was back in the spotlight within a mere 7 weeks. How in the world did he do that, you might ask? He attacked his injuries from both the inside and the outside, and the most critical tools in his healing were handcrafted blends of unique, specialized ingredients from all around the world, which he formulated himself. So in a sense, he healed himself from his own hospital bed, not using what the doctors had given him. After realizing the impact of this, guys, he moved everything out of his bedroom and started fine-tuning the formula, which is selling worldwide in some of my favorite skincare products out there. You know, as guys, many times we don't talk about skincare products until we know they work in a phenomenally well fashion. As I mentioned, Andy's a close friend of mine. His humility, his care for people really shines through. He's a biohacker at heart and a true entrepreneur that's out doing what he is passionate about doing today. You guys are going to get a ton of nuggets out of this. as it relates to peak performance today. And I'm so excited to bring our second episode to you. So without any further delay, let's cut right to my conversation with Andy Hnilo. Andy Hnilo, my man, welcome back to the Success 101 podcast. I'm thrilled you are here, and we've got so much to talk about. How are things out in sunny California?
Oh, man, it's definitely sunny. I'm out here in Glendale, and we have the AC going already. I mean, I know you being out in Texas, you can definitely relate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's so funny. Whenever I get repeat guests on, which actually your buddy Ryan Muncie was the only first repeat guest that we've ever had on, and you're the second. And I know you've done a ton of stuff since then. And man, it's amazing how fast a year goes by. You and I had the chance to hang out a little bit out at the Bulletproof Conference in September. That's coming up on a year as well. Holy cow, I just thought about that. But so thrilled to have you back on, and, you know, always looking for great people to bring on. And the cool thing is, I don't know if you knew this, but I went back and looked at it over the last, not quite a year, but probably over the last 300 days or so, as my team was like looking at the demographics. Your podcast has been the most downloaded podcast on the Success 101 podcast here, over guys like Steve Weatherford, Grant Cardone, just a host of just awesome people, Angela Duckworth, all kinds of people that I've been so fortunate to be able to have on my show. And there's Andy Hnilo sitting right at the top. So obviously people got a ton out of your episode. People are sharing it. People know that you're throwing out a lot of information. I'm just excited about what we're going to dig in here today.
Hey, I do have to tell you, that's an absolute honor. Grant Cardone, Steve Weatherford, I'm a big fan of both of them. So thank you. I mean, you're following just to be recognized in those names. That's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, and I think what it shows too, I was kind of thinking about that, like, wow, man, you work as a guy doing a podcast on the side or whatever. You really work to try to get certain people on. And some people just come on because they see your show and they see the people you have come on and they have their team fight for it or whatever, because they want to get a spot on the show. And so I'm getting just, as I'm sure you do, you just get bombarded with all this information, and you want to give everybody their due and, you know, give everybody the time of day to say, okay, should this be somebody I have on, whatever. Hopefully this doesn't sound the wrong way, but I would never guess that a guy doing what you're doing, and what it shows to me as I was thinking through it, was people love people who are genuine, people who have humility kind of as their, you know, one of their core beliefs, which I know you do. And I've shared that with you before. That's the biggest thing that probably makes you an attractive person out there to people that are trying to follow your message and all of that. But really, people like actionable steps that can change their life. But it just shows that what you're doing is so valuable that it cuts through that perception and people enjoy it and they share it. And so, man, kudos to you. You're doing some great stuff.
Hey, well, thank you, Jared. And just on the record, now, you know, your sweet note that you wrote to me, you know, and the book that you gave to me, just really means a lot. And just you recognizing that, and anybody else out there recognizes that I'm just being myself, and I'm extremely just a grateful human being. You know, I mean, I have a big heightened sense of perspective considering, you know, what I've been through, and I just love what I'm doing. I love, you know, it's a very rewarding business that I'm in, and it's just, I have a lot to be thankful for. And
man, that is awesome. That's awesome. And it's coming through. You can tell you're passionate about your work and what you're doing. And I look forward to seeing what else you're going to put out in the future. And, you know, let's just dive in here. I'd love to bring your story, you know, full circle to our listeners. I'm sure there's the faithful Success 101 podcast listeners that have been with me since the beginning when the audio sounded like crap. And, you know, I was wondering why people were even tuning in. So now there's newer people that have joined on. But for people who don't know your story, and I'm going to pull this straight off memory. I promise I'm not looking at anything here, but I believe it was 2011, if I remember correctly from our last podcast, walking across a busy street, maybe down Melrose, if I remember correctly. Ooh. Got hit by two cars, southbound heading Tundra. I'm literally pulling all this off memory. Southbound heading Tundra, taking to Cedars-Sinai emergency room, and then a super long, but I would say rewarding, now looking back on it, you know, hindsight's 2020, rewarding recovery through the healing process that you had to endure. Jaw was broken, bones sticking out, several ribs broken, but that led to, you know, talk about an amazing story of, you know, tribulation and rising up through that. That led to Alitura Naturals. So many people out there can look at their tragedy and go, hey, I am where I am today because of that. Give us just a quick snapshot for those who haven't heard your story. I covered some of it there, but fill in the gaps where I may have missed it.
Well, you're very good. It was a westbound heading vehicle that struck me and then hit me into an eastbound lane, and then I was run over by the Tundra, and I
almost got it right.
It's impressive. You got the Melrose. I mean, 2011, March 20, 2011. My world was rocked. I woke up in Cedars-Sinai ICU with my chin bone protruding through the bottom of my mouth and a compound fracture where it was just, I was unrecognizable. I had 7 broken ribs, a collapsed lung, and a catheter in, chest tube in. just very lucky to be alive.
And you were already doing modeling and acting at that time, right? Like just so the listeners understand, like this was your life pretty much from what I understand at the time.
It was what I was doing for a living. I was in the entertainment industry since I moved down here in 2007. So we're working on at that time 4 to 5 years. And it was a fun ride, and it's still, I mean, I'm still technically doing it, but yeah, when that happened, it was just a matter of getting back to where I was before the accident, which was a happy, healthy person, and just I had a zest. But that was all taken away. It was a very dark year to 2 years where you had to build that all back. It was literally a rock bottom moment. And, you know, I just had the perspective. I had the love from family and friends, and I had a routine that I did daily that built my perspective. There are two ways to go. You can sit and kind of like wallow away in sorrow. And some people do. Hey, and I'm not blaming them. It's extremely difficult to do.
Sure.
Or you can battle back and kind of realize what you do have and have that perspective of, man, I can walk around. My ankles, my knees, my elbows, like I didn't break anything from that standpoint outside of my ribs and my jaw. Those were going to grow back and grow together and hopefully form in a way where I could function how I did before. But I felt like I was going to recover quickest through getting circulation going, head to toe, having a positive mindset to start every day off, thinking, being extremely grateful for what I did have, talking to people that I love every morning, my mom, my sisters. I would hop back in my inversion table. I'd look at the mountains surrounding me. It was just a beautiful way to start the day that I just through gratitude. And so that is something that I do to this day. But it was work. You go to the bathroom, you look in the mirror in the bathroom, and it's just like, makes your heart sink. I remember those emotions, and it's just part of being, not happy with what I saw, but also part of being human. And you battle through it through exercises, or you don't, and you stay the same. I mean, I'm not saying either one is the right way to do it. I'm just saying what I did, and it was a lot of work for me, but developed into this routine of consistency that I just know what I'm going to get daily. I just found little ways to beat certain things. Someone bugs you on a certain email or phone call. I know how to pinpoint that and diffuse that emotion. Whereas before it would linger, it would stick around all day sometimes. So yeah, I've learned a lot through the experience, and I'm just happy, man. I keep it as simple as I can as far as just with the business. I try to create the best products that I would use based on my specifications. Now, I am absolutely obsessed with ingredients, and I just pinpoint things to a level where it's almost embarrassing sometimes, where conversations will come up on certain products, and I'll be like, do you have it in front of you? And I'll hold it up. I'll be like, I mean, I can just point out certain things, and it's almost like, because, to each their own has always worked for me. So I always kind of try to muffle my opinion until I'm really genuinely asked and on my full opinion. So it's just, does that make sense? It's kind of hard to so that's why that's translated into the products that I can make, and the mission behind Alitura, which, is something I'm proud of.
And I've got so many things that, now that we have had an episode in the past and I know you and know your story, it makes it so much more fun to be able to really peel the layers back on this versus, and nothing against your story, but I know you tell your story so much to so many different people. But now we've got the layers, right? We can go in and really start, pulling this back. And that's what I'm excited to do today. Taking a big step back real quick to something you said a second ago. Two things, actually. Number one is, again, off memory, so I may butcher this, but I think you said that there was an ex-Marine in the hospital before, and he said any day you can walk out of the hospital is a good day. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, you have a very good memory. That actually was a nurse. And when we walked out of Cedars-Sinai, he goes, hey, any day you can walk out of a hospital is a good day.
Yeah. So what you said just a second ago, as far as like looking at yourself, hoping that everything kind of came back together, but just being grateful. I mean, that's so important for our listeners to hear out there, because I mean, who knows what path you could have taken. I hear about guys like you and my good friend Lewis Howes, who had a, football injury, sleeping on his sister's couch, wondering what in the heck am I going to do with my life? I mean, most people out there, the majority, don't end up going and creating. And most of that, I would say, is mindset, gratitude, fill in the blank with all of the good, zest you've mentioned a couple of times, just trying to recapture that again. And so my hope and my aim is that people don't hear your story and go, hey, the guy got all busted up, but then, hey, cool, he found a way to like make his skin better, and wow, he's really fortunate. Yeah, you had to work at that. I mean, that the dark times, as you mentioned, that doesn't just happen. You had to work at that. And then you almost stole the words right out of my mouth. My second question was going to be, Was there ever a time that you went and looked in the mirror, thought, man, what I was doing, what I was passionate about doing before, like it's over, it's done. Like who's going to hire me on as a model, actor, whatever? I mean, I'm sure you had those thoughts. Like take us through those days.
I definitely did. That actually was said to me several times with friends and friends of friends, just wondering if I got anything from the accident financially to maybe repair or put a buffer on, my career, seeing as I would never work again, and hopefully I got something out of it. And that just it rubbed me the wrong way. I never, I kept it to myself, and that's what fuels, everything that I do. I kept it to myself, and it's fun to well, not fun, but it's good to have some type of, way to really pour gas on that ember of a fire inside you. And so I just remember I heard that and I went just, to myself, I said, just watch, it's just like, I heard that I would never do, never be in the entertainment industry again and certain things. And I just took that as day one. All right, here we go. I just really strongly believe in the power of, intrinsic motivation. And I started working as hard as I could. I became obsessed with getting back in better shape mentally and physically than I was before the accident. And lo and behold, I was working more than I was before the accident, just in that industry. And it just feels good to prove yourself right. I'm not trying to pump myself up, but I did hear that. And all it did was motivate me. That's make a long answer short. I did need to hear. I'm glad I heard that because it really increased the level of work that I put into my recovery and just fueled my motivation. So.
And I think that's got to be incredibly hard for what you went through. I mean, it's one thing to tell an athlete like, hey, you'll never squat X amount of pounds. And they go, oh man, just watch. I'm going to train and train and train and get better. When somebody looks at your face and your injuries and goes, man, you'll never work in the entertainment industry, whatever they said to you, it's a different thing to say, well, watch this. I'm going to work my hardest because obviously, especially in the days after the accident, I've seen, pictures that you shared with, on Facebook, whatever, social media, where you're like laid up in the hospital bed and all that. It wasn't pretty. And so it's harder to look yourself in the mirror and go, hey, just watch. So I'm sure there were those dark days where maybe self-doubt, whatever. But again, like you said, through and for the listeners who don't know out there, just your work to this skincare, this skin line company that you've now created, that hard work is what got you to where you are today. And that is just such an awesome story, just coming back from adversity. So I'd love to know, since I didn't ask it last time, I know your big pushback, whatever, on the doctors was, I'm not going to take any of the prescribed medication, nothing with steroids in it, nothing that's not, something that obviously you later came and created. To me, it's one thing to say, we all know there's certain things unhealthy we shouldn't put into our bodies or use in large doses or whatever. To me, it's another thing when it's skin stuff and you're like, man, my life is, in some ways, my appearance, my acting, my modeling, all of that. Most people probably would have said, man, put all my beliefs behind me. Whatever the doctors give me, this is going to be, they're medically trained. I need to put as much crap on my face as I can just to get back to where I want to be. What was it that made you in that moment give pushback instead of feeling the fear of like, what if I don't find something that's going to heal this and then I'm scarred up for the rest of my life?
So before the accident, I had a big interest into products, ingredients, skincare in general. I had acne in college, which I don't really think I touched on in our previous episode. And so that led to just, when you look in the mirror and there's always some type of irritation, bad back acne as well. So this is when I was 18, 19 years old. And it turns out it was because of my diet and the products that I was using. So from that point on, I became extremely interested and passionate into skincare and the products that I was using. So that increased year after year leading up to the accident, where I was using all natural products before. And then after the accident, I would look at these scar reversal creams and these serums that I was, my surgeon, bless his heart, he got me back to where I am. I knew corticosteroids. I knew alcohol-laced products. I knew highly synthetic filler-laced products. I just knew what they were. And so not to mention they were extremely expensive. I have a very good idea of what my body responds to, both good and bad. And I've tried those before, and it just felt so synthetic. It was a stinging rather than a nice, nourishing reaction. I just know the different reaction from, say, colostrum, manuka honey, to corticosteroid or hydro, all these phenoxyethanol, potassium sorbate, sodium benzoate, alcohol, cetyl benzoate. All these complicated, synthetic, highly toxic ingredients that just, I'm going to respectfully declined. And I just kind of took it as my own little creative outlet to start melting down beeswax and cacao butter and adding sea buckthorn oil and clary sage and making my own little paste. And
What did the doctors say at that point that were over you and in charge of you, rejecting their stuff and then trying your own things?
right, I think I said I couldn't afford it or something like that. They didn't do a heavy push on it. And I definitely didn't explain like I was an expert by any means to them. I just politely declined. But yet I didn't mention what I just said to you because I didn't have anything to back it up. It's like, talk about ungrateful. This guy's picking apart the products. I'm the expert here. Who is this guy with his jaw broken? Anyway, I didn't bring it up. I just said no.
Yeah, so it's one thing to start melting down beeswax, cacao butter, looking for that replenishing and that non-stinging sensation. It's another thing to say, I've somewhat mastered this now where I can go public with it and let everyone out there see my stuff. We didn't talk about really any sort of a launch either last time, and we kind of just dove on into what you're doing now. How did that all come about? Because again, it's one thing just to sit around in your kitchen and work with all these things. It's another thing to say, hey, let me put it all on the line and put it out there and see if people like this stuff as much as I do.
Which is the hardest part of it. I think the hardest part for me was charging someone something that it's just someone was, when I was forming my company, my banker was the first official purchase of the clay mask. It was so awkward. But she was like, no, I want to support you and your business. And I'm like, well, she's like, do you have a cost? And I'm like, well, I don't. She's like, well, how about this? How about, and she wrote me a check for $25, which it just felt good. And she's like, I want to be your first purchase. And I was like, that is so sweet. And little did I know, it was a pound. I filled up a whole 16-ounce container, and my cost was extremely high for the Alitura clay mask. And so I actually lost money on that initial sale, but even though I just handed it to her. But it just felt good, you know what I mean? Like it's just that initial flicker of momentum led into just an absolute inferno of desire to just tell people of something that I created and why I created it. When it comes from the heart, I mean, people respond to passion. I had the same friends and family that saw me in the hospital that were blown away within 10 days of the accident from my appearance. My scarring had significantly reduced, and the abrasions were completely gone. The swelling had gone down a little bit, and I'm talking shortly after the accident. I remember because I picked up a friend from the airport, and she was blown away and wondering what I did for my skin. But so and you mentioned this was a compound fracture, and for people that don't know, I believe that's where compound fracture, correct me if I'm wrong, that's where it's sticking out of the skin. I mean, that's kind of the definition of that, and your jaw was broken in 5 places, if I remember correctly. That's, right from just below my left ear, from where that curvature comes in from the jaw to just beneath the ear, to all the way down to the middle of my chin, which now touching it right now, I severed a nerve on the left side of my face, which has all the communication from the brain to those, the muscles that surround it. And I would smile and one side of my face would show up and the other one wouldn't. So I'd have to really overemphasize the left side of my face. And you can see in family pictures the difference over the years. And it's such a trip to see or just to remember how insecure it was for me when I was, trying to express an emotion, right? When you're happy and you're laughing and you're smiling, and then you're like, oh man, I probably look really weird right now with one side of my face showing up and the other one not. But it's little things like that I'm glad I don't forget. I mean, everything I do, the chewing, the smiling, I'm grateful to be able to, do those things. I mean, the small things like that were definitely not small, in 2012 and 11 and even 13. Still right now, my teeth knock into each other every now and then because the bite's a little off and I have to overemphasize, but it's okay. It's hard to complain when you've been through some stuff like that. So
yeah, and then not only being through it and learning from it, but being able to help people all over the world now, which again, there's just so much to cover with you. We're going to dive into your products here in just a second. And you've got some new stuff out there as well, but take us through another thing we didn't mention last time that I'm curious about. Take us through the point where you got connected with Dave Asprey and Bulletproof and you guys became business partners. Because I know that doesn't just happen out of nowhere either. I mean, there's got to be, he is what he is today, right? And you are what you are today. But back then, he was still probably getting hit up by a lot of people wanting his attention, and you got it somehow. How did that all come about?
So, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't even answer your previous question. So that actually ties into how I got in touch with Dave. So the same people who saw me in the hospital room, I would go around to their houses, friends of them, and just mix up the Alitura clay mask. It didn't have the name back then. It didn't even have a name, period. And I just wanted feedback. And I just wanted to see, if they felt the same results and saw the same results as I did. So after that, and just I would take pictures and post them on Facebook and of mixing it up, handshaking it, and putting a little label on and going around town. And here's my clay mask. It was just like my little creative outlet. It was fun to have something, and just a friend of mine owned a med spa down in San Diego, and she took it on, tried it on some of her trusted clients and customers, and they loved it too. So they took it on their treatment list. And so then even without a name, I knew I had something, but so that was my first little momentum of actually having a product. And after that, I was using Dave's products myself in my recovery, and I wanted to work for Bulletproof. So what I did was I troubleshooted his email address. So I knew, at the bottom of every website, they usually have a contact queue. And I believe back then it was info@Bulletproof Exec or Bulletproof Executive, one of those. And so I knew, obviously his name being Dave Asprey, I just came up with every combination and then that app. So I'm talking.
I can't say that I haven't done that before myself. You just put blind copy all the ones that you don't think it is and just hope that one of them lands.
Yeah, I just did it recently. And you know what? Hey, you got to pound the pavement sometimes. It's just, if one of those goes through, and you know what? I probably 10 different combinations, Asprey.Dave, Dave.Asprey, Dave, I mean, you name it, at bulletproofexec.com. And I did a before picture of me in the ICU and an after picture of me in some modeling job I did in a magazine. And I gave a little blip about my story, which I copy pasted in each one of those email addresses. And one of them went through. I wanted to potentially do something with Bulletproof just because I believed in his attention to detail with ingredients. I loved the brand. I loved his products. And they brought me on board as an ambassador. And I did a podcast with Dave months after. And I had no idea how big his reach was. It was the number one podcast on iTunes with millions of downloads. Now I know what that means. But at the time I was like, oh, cool, podcast. Like, I was just happy to be there.
Yeah, I get to talk to somebody. Awesome.
Yeah. And especially Dave, I really, really looked up to him, still do. And I was such a geek. I watched it recently. I'm just gushing and just geeking out on just talking to someone I admire. It's kind of it's cool to relive that moment myself. So
yeah, and that's where I first heard about you, by the way. I don't know if I think maybe it was your second one on there. It could have been your first. I can't remember. Just as I was learning about all this, I just saw it pop up.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to pronounce your last name, whatever, saw you on the video, and I was like, oh, it's a cool story. Little did I know. Here we are, connecting again.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing about it was it just wasn't planned. Towards the end of the podcast, he asked me what I did for my scarring and my abrasions. The whole podcast with Dave was just talking about my morning routines, the supplements I was taking, the products I was using. And towards the end, he asked me about skincare. And I'm so glad I mentioned the things that I was doing, because as a man and it's just not one of the things that I was definitely hesitant on going, oh man, am I really going to tell everybody that I'm wearing this mask every day? But I'm so glad I did, because, here we are. But he got a very big response. I didn't have a website. I didn't have an email, I gave out my public email, my email address to the public. And I started getting contacted, and so did he, about how people could try this mask that I created. And so I quickly found out that it was having the number one podcast on iTunes all around the world. I mean, you can imagine the response. It was awesome. It was an adrenaline filled moment that really hasn't left. So Dave and I partnered up. He took the product on, he put it on his website as the first Bulletproof approved skincare product, the Alitura mask. And here we are, 75 countries, 3 years into it. And I couldn't ask for more. I really could not. So I just keep it simple. I do my best to just bring products that are with absolute disregard to cost on my end. I just want to create a dream scenario product every time.
Yeah.
I'm in this for the respect. I'm in this for, to set myself apart, to set the bar higher for products and just, you don't really hear that too much. I don't have the big corporate overhead that some other brands do. So, we have 5 employees now, and it's fun for me because that doesn't come into my mind as far when I'm creating products, when I'm, everything is down to quality, creating excellence and creating just pure, pristine, perfect products, and then controlling the customer experience. That's what I mean when I say I keep it simple. Just create the best products, treat people as a reflection of yourself, and then just let the customers do the talking. I'm absolutely not, I just respond best to just, sincerity and authenticity, and just with not, attention to detail with ingredients that hopefully stands out.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I mean, it's just, and we can get into this if you want. I know we only have so much time, but for guys out there, and I'm one of them, right? I mean, it probably helps that I had a chance to hear your story and whatever before someone just came to me and said, "Hey man, you got to try this mask or whatever." Cause I would have probably been like, "Dude, get out of here." I'm like, I would have been so closed off to it, not knowing what I didn't know, but hearing your story, doing a little bit of research on the product, really understanding. The first one that I got was the clay mask. And it's a little bit, when you first try it, it's not the most convenient thing in the world, putting this stuff on your face and letting it sit there and cake up for a little while, but it's the results. And that's why people keep coming back time and time again. My big thing, before you had this also, when we talked last time, you had 4 products. You had the moisturizer, you had the Alitura Revitalize, you had the clay mask, and what am I missing?
Was it the night? Did I have the night cream out back then? I think I did.
Oh, night cream. Yeah. Did I say night cream? Anyway, you had those 4 products. You've put out some other stuff since then. But guys, I'm here to tell y'all listening in. I test everything. You guys know that about me. I have to, sometimes good and sometimes, I get in my own way with things as far as like having to be stubborn about it. But like I have to be proven why things work before I can be a real ambassador for it. I think most people are kind of like that. And the first time I tried your night cream, I think you did like a Facebook Live where you were like unpackaging it and then you were talking about it like the hyaluronic acid and the plant-derived stem cells and antioxidants and all those and how great it made your face feel. And I'm like, man, I've really enjoyed the mask. This looks awesome too. I guess I'll bite the bullet and buy some. And dude, I'm just here to tell you, like, I will buy that stuff as long as you keep creating it. I put it on every single night and it just makes your face feel so freaking good. Y'all must have changed up something in a little bit, kind of off topic here, but it's a little bit more yellow than what it normally used to be. Like the latest one that I got, I don't know if y'all changed anything in it, but it is just so amazing. I put that on every night, and whatever just irritation your face has from either shaving or the weather or, the sun, or, whatever you've done to it, it just brings things back. And I look at pictures now. I'm no model, or anything like that, but I look at pictures. My wife was commenting the other day. She's like, "Hey, here's you is a picture with our daughter going to like daddy-daughter dance and like almost exactly a year apart." And we looked at the pictures and she's like, "Your skin looks so much fresher, even though it's a year apart." And my mind just went straight to that night cream. I'm like, I guarantee you that's what's doing it because it just makes it so moisturized and fresh.
Thank you for saying that. It's, the formulation process, it's never, and I know with my moisturizer, we took 21 tweaks. So that's 20 phone calls back and forth. Usually it's about, I don't know, 5 to 10 maybe, but yeah, 21 just on my moisturizer. And then with the night cream having 31 ingredients, 22 different sources. So put it this way, like to get something on Amazon, they need the certificate of authenticity of all the ingredients, right? So when you have 22 different sources, you have to reach out to them and get that COA of each of the, ingredients that you're using. So it's just, this is for Amazon, but it makes sense. That's why, some people just, to get something already done and predetermined ingredient decks from labs that have already done the formulating and the research and development, that's what a lot of companies do. But when you build something from scratch, like we did with the night cream and every product, it just feels better when it's built from a clean palette and just from scratch, like ground up. It's an indescribable feeling because when you finally sign off on it, it's hard to describe. But yeah, it's with the night cream, it's just everything in there, right? The plant-derived stem cells, gardenia, edelweiss, the sweet potato-derived hyaluronic acid, colostrum, K-factor 16, manuka honey. CoQ10. It's just my whole big thing there is just hydrating, conditioning, and then really, lifting, firming the collagen, synthesis process while you sleep, while you're in one position for, pretty solid, consistent amount of time.
And I even saw you on a Facebook with maybe a partner of yours or somebody, a friend of yours, maybe over in Hawaii, I believe, going to this like beekeeper place when you were doing some more research on the ingredients and stuff. And that was just pretty cool to be able to see that and be able to see like, okay, this product that I really love and feels so great every single day that I use it, like, you're over there actually doing the deal. It's not like just, you're not getting it made somewhere and like, hey, I found this cool thing and let me just ship it off to people and let them pay for it, whatever. Like you're actually, getting the research done to make it as great as it can be for people. And that speaks a lot, speaks volumes.
Yeah. And then throwing on the beekeeping suit. Did you see that one? I got in there. I wanted to see exactly how.
I didn't see that. I heard you talking about going to see the beekeeper, or whatever. And I was like, well, that's cool. I didn't see that other part.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They, the thing I love about them is they holistically raise bees, and that's the product that they get from those bees. They have 9 hives, I believe. I think they have 10,000 bees in those hives. Could be wrong, but they feed it avocados. It's on a beautiful island of Oahu in a small little town called Haleiwa. And I wanted to see the whole process like you. The the propolis, the beeswax, the honey, the bee pollen, the royal jelly, everything is right there. So you can't get that from, say, another manufacturer in Southern California or where I knew and I met, they're like a sweet family out in Hawaii. I mean, hey, any excuse to go to Hawaii and do a little, kick the tires a little bit and see how manufacturing is going. I'm all for it. But yeah, it's fun because it's all I use as well. So I'm just as curious as you are. I want to make sure that it's just perfect. And all I expect is perfection.
So, Andy, I know you're a lot like me as far as routines and rituals, the things that you really believe in. That's what you want to live your life by. And last time on the podcast, for people who heard that, they know we talked a lot about your morning routine from the time that you get up, the smoothies that you make, the vitamins that you're taking, all of those sort of things. I would love to take it a little bit of the step of the other direction and find out what you're doing in the evening. My listeners hear me say all the time that a great morning doesn't start with you making great plans to have a great morning, but really it starts with what you're doing in the PM. We charge up during the day. We do a lot of great things to keep our energy going, but at some point we have to start winding down. I know with your skincare line, you've got to keep yourself rested and rejuvenated and in shape for all of that. So I know you've got to probably have some really good evening routines. Why don't you let us know what you're doing to keep yourself in optimal shape and stay recharged as it comes to getting into the evening?
Absolutely. So what I like to do now that our days are filling up from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. nonstop is I like to work out in the evenings. And so I split my workouts into high intensity interval, kind of a circuit training. So they're short workouts, but they're very intense. And then I'll hit a sauna every time after, just to, relax the muscles, impurities exit the system.
You're doing a dry sauna or like a wet steam room type sauna? What's your go-to?
Dry sauna. That's a good question. Dry sauna. And what I'll do, probably about 10 minutes in that, really get a good release of just the impurities, the toxins. Say, wherever you are, you're going to be absorbing toxins just through environment, pollution, whatever it may be. But I like to get that, kind of change the oil every other day, if not, as often as I can. I love saunas in the nighttime. It just really relaxes me. It's so important, though, to follow that with a shower because the toxins, your sweat are sitting on top of the surface, and they need to be, you don't want them to be reintroduced back into your system. And
that's a great point. Let me step back here for a second, Andy, because I've had a lot of questions and a lot of thoughts on saunas. You have your own indoor, sauna right there where you are. I see a lot of those, especially at the Bulletproof Conference, those sort of things. Are you going somewhere like a gym or club or something like that to get that?
Luckily, my gym has one. I thought about buying one. I still may. They're just so expensive, but I should do it. $4,000 or whatever. These people are really, it's getting up there. But it's also part of my routine post-workout just to be right there. If I had something here in, say, my garage or even my living room, I would do it, but it's part of my post-gym routine, just kind of, wrapping up an intense workout, just going right into the sauna, still sweating from the workout. And it really accelerates the whole turnover of the sweat and just really gets that leaking. It's crazy. Especially when you combine just what I do as far as ascorbic acid, my pre-workout, niacin, agmatine sulfate, a lot of branched chain aminos that help rid my body of those specific impurities that I think detox is just so important. So
yes, you're trying to get those out of there, and then you made a really important point that I hadn't really thought about or heard before, which is you want to get a shower immediately afterwards. Right. Because you don't want that being reintroduced back into your skin. That's a great point. I think most people, especially if they're doing this at the gym, they get in there, they sweat, they feel good that they detoxed, and then they drive home probably and take a shower. But that could be 30 minutes or more, before they get to a shower.
Right. And so post-workout, I'll get back here. I always have to eat between 30 and 45 minutes. That's the window of opportunity to just recover from the workout. People, I heard Dorian Yates on a Joe Rogan podcast just yesterday talk about you just have no idea how important recovery is in, say, weight training, bodybuilding, just workouts in general. It is so important. Your body grows at rest. And so I want to make sure, my whole routine that I can control every single day is being as locked in as possible throughout the day and then rest and recover so I'm able to do it right back again the next day. And my best way to explain what I do is just through my go-to amino acids, supplements, herbs to put me into that deep recovery sleep. Glutamine, theanine, GABA, glycine, proline, tyrosine, Hoshu Wu, Schizandra, chlorella, silica, missing one, magnesium 308 from Natural.
Yeah, natural stacks. Absolutely.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of that particular brand. They're great dudes, and they also just open source transparency that they have is unheard of. So
yeah, so I just released my ultimate biohacking episode that so many people have asked me to do. They started getting tripped up on all the things that I do out there, and they're like, man, I'm kind of confused. Can you please put out, kind of a guide here, so to speak? And I'm like, man, I'm so far behind a lot of other people out there and what they're doing. But I talk about natural stacks a lot in the evening. I mentioned their GABA and I mentioned their magnesium L-threonate, which does cross the blood-brain barrier. Both of those things are so important, and they've really broken it down to a science, and just love what those guys are doing over there.
Right. Yeah. Just the whole transparency in the supplement industry and being able to trust, who you buy from, what you buy. It's so important. There are some of my favorite sources that I like right now at the moment are, let's see, Now. I love Now brand. I love Doctor's Best. I love, believe it or not, bulk supplements. They're just dominating the Amazon market. And I'll tell you what, they're dominating my bank account too. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
I ask a lot of questions. Sourcing is, for me, I'm just, extremely particular with it. And,
sure.
But they're good at it. They're good at explaining the purity, providing COAs for their amino acids, for their krill oil. I'm very impressed with what they're doing. So they have, so far so good with them. I love the purity of their product. They're one of those no fillers, no BS type brands, which is great that those are starting to be recognized and become popular because there's so many companies out there that,
Which brand are you referring to specifically right now? Because you'd mentioned a couple there.
This is Bulk Supplements. It's just called Bulk Supplements.
Okay, sorry. That's actually the name of the brand. I thought you were just saying like bulk supplements in general, like buying them on Amazon.
Well, yeah, I do. That's the brand name. And I do get them off Amazon. And then another trusted brand that I like is Now Nutrition, Doctor's Best. I like Life Extension, Bulletproof, obviously, Natural Stacks, another big favorite of mine. I'm trying to think who else. That's pretty much it. But with that tonic, so to speak, with those supplements that I mentioned, it really gets me into a state. I mean, when you're crossing the blood-brain barrier, it's just, especially with the theanine, it really gets you in such a relaxed state. And then have you tried those new, what's the name? It's True Dark. Have you tried the new True Dark glasses?
No, I haven't, but I keep seeing things on them. I just got in Dave Asprey's bulletproof biohacking box through biohack.com. He just sent out the True Dark, like the LED covers, like where you go around your house and put them on all the LED lights and stuff. And I saw the glasses advertised there, but I have not gotten those.
Yeah, the red ones that you definitely don't want to be caught outside or seen by anyone. Those are, they're effective. So those with the bulletproof mat, I mean, the only problem is you may wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning with your lights still on and with those sunglasses or with those glasses on, and then you're laying on that mat still. I mean, that's the only problem I've had. You'll just fall into this really deep sleep with.
Yeah, isn't that wicked crazy what it makes your back look like when you get off that thing? I mean, it looks like you're not going to recover from it when you get off because those holes are so deep, but it's great. I mean, I love laying on it.
It just works, So yeah, definitely. It could be a little alarming that's anybody who doesn't know what you just, especially if you're wearing a tank top or whatever, no shirt. But yeah, it's effective. That combined with my little supplement routine and herbal routine before I go to bed, it really gives me a consistent sleep every single night where I'm able to be nice and rested and recover correctly and get into the next day and do the exact same thing all over again,
Yeah, and you mentioned a tonic. I remember on our first episode, you mentioned your morning tonic, and I asked, just because I didn't know that you were referring to, kind of a liquid smoothie that you're stirring it up in, and you said, no, I put all that into a smoothie. Is that the same thing you're doing in the evening, or are you taking these in the capsule forms? I know some of the brands you mentioned sell, pretty much capsules. How are you doing it?
So those are powders. I like to buy bulk and then fill up the tonic that way. It's just more cost effective. I do have a couple capsules, the magnesium 308 from MagTech is what it's called. Those
Right. So if you're doing that in a tonic, so you're taking these supplements glutamine, tyrosine, Hoshu Wu, all those that you mentioned, which it sounds like a couple of these carry over from what you're doing in the morning as well. So maybe you're doing some in the morning, some in the evening also, I'm noticing here. But you're mentioning you mix those up in the tonic. What liquid, what are you, just so my listeners who are trying to picture this, what are you mixing all of that up in?
About 7 ounces of turkey bone broth or beef bone broth is what I use. And
Gotcha. Are you making that yourself or are you getting that from somewhere also?
I get it from Pacific brand. They have it at Whole Foods. It's just convenient. I'm sure there are better brands. I know there are. Sorry to the people out there, Pacific, but love your product, but there are better. That's just the fact of the matter. But yeah, so that's what I use. And just a disclaimer, hey guys, this does not taste good. This is purely for performance. I mean, Hoshu Wu, those amino acids, it's a battle. So just a disclaimer, if you want to make it taste a little bit better, maybe add a little Himalayan salt, which is good for you to remineralize on its own, maybe a little lemon juice. I don't know, but I don't really care what things taste like. I'm just purely for performance in it. It's effective.
Yeah, and I know you don't because I see you eating like placenta and something that I saw you post one day, and you're always eating aloe vera. There was an aloe vera smoothie you were making up at one point, not to get off track here, but yeah. I think you'd even said online, like, man, beware, this does not taste good at all, but
yeah,
the effects are amazing,
Yeah, it's the bitterness, which, in Chinese herbal philosophy, they believe that that's a medicine. It's a medicinal part of the plant. Things like daikon radish, the horseradish, the ginger, turmeric, aloe. These are very medicinal herbs and plants that I think are so beneficial to us that I'll take one for the team and kind of just, get it down the system to know what it's doing and feel and experience what it's doing internally. So that's part of what we do is weird little biohackers, right?
Yeah, that's right. And so you're taking that and mixing it up with you said about 7 ounces of the bone broth. So you're blending that up, and some of the stuff, as I mentioned, go back, guys, and listen to our first episode. I'll link that up in the show notes. But a lot of Andy's morning routine, which you may have even changed, over the last year. It's good to always change stuff up. Maybe there's other things you're doing now, but there was a ton of information going into that morning tonic that really just got you up and going. The Ceylon cinnamon, trying to pull off memory here, just some of the stuff that you put in there. Schisandra is a repeat, I think, from the morning. And so that's great. I mean, you're finding benefits for the morning and evening for this. Are you taking that right before you go to bed, or are you taking that a little bit earlier so it can absorb in the system? How are you getting that in, or does it not really matter?
No, it's about an hour before I go to bed. I like to lay around and kind of just collect my thoughts and wrap up emails and kind of just take in the day and then set my intentions for the following day. And it's about an hour and a half. Then I'll probably go to bed 10, 11 p.m., sometimes a little bit later than that.
It's good. So you're doing the sleep induction mat. You're putting on the True Dark glasses, which now that you've mentioned it, I got to get some because I just hear more and more people talking about them. I was using the James Swanwick glasses that is helpful, to keep the blue light out, but it's not going to, Dave says if you put the True Dark on during the day, you're actually going to start feeling tired. Whereas with Swanwick, you really don't feel that way because it's just two different things that it's trying to accomplish there.
Yeah. Two different things. I have Dave's yellow daytime glasses on right now as we speak, actually.
Oh, awesome. I wish we had video so I could see that. But
I'm happy to take one.
So you're doing that about an hour before bed, gathering your thoughts, just winding down from the day. Because, some people out there, they stay wound up, they stay, a little bit anxious, whatever, just with whatever they're doing. For a guy like you that really could get caught up, let's be honest, with social media and posting about your product and doing Facebook Live and checking reviews and just there's so much media and tech that goes behind what you're doing. Always in that industry where so much of my business just ran on that because I think it'd be hard sometimes to put the screens down, but it sounds like you're staying pretty disciplined to that, obviously getting in good rest at night, but then doing all of these things before bed, laying on the mat, all of that to wind down. Anything else that's really helping you to taking it from just a geared up state during the day to learning how to just quickly get down at night, whether it be the things we've mentioned already or anything else?
This is a nootropic, so this is just what I do. I highly recommend people, do the research and then maybe lightly work them, work something into their routine if they feel like it's right for them. Read reviews, but I can't say enough about Phenibut. If you Phenibut, and it's a nootropic.
I've seen it out there, but I have not tried it myself.
So, yeah, I'll do it twice a week. I'll space it out, and I'll do it during the day. And it is undeniably effective for clarity, cognitive function, releasing any type of brain fog. You're just alert and And
So that's more of a daytime hack that you're doing. And is that in some other sort of stack and that's part of it, or is that just in
well,
its raw form?
yeah, no, it's just one pure phenibut is what I do. But I mean, I do I do the Forbose from Bulletproof. I do methylfolate. I do polyphenomenal. I do the B12 from Bulletproof. I do all of Bulletproof's supplements.
Right. Sorry, I just meant on the phenibut that you mentioned.
Oh,
I didn't know if that
well,
was
I mean,
part of
it's just,
another.
if you say stack, well, you mentioned a stack, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was included in something else, like it was part of another stack, or if that phenibut that you're taking was just on its own. You're just taking it on its own.
Yeah, it's on its own, but it's definitely in my system along with the stack.
Everything else. Yeah.
So,
Well, why only twice a week? What's the reason
it's
behind
very
that?
important to space that out. It's one of those things that you don't want to develop a dependency on.
Yep.
Your body can tend to do that. That's the only negative thing that I've heard about it is that you can get addicted to it. But I just like to take 2 full days off in between usage and just that's something that works for me. So that's my little performance enhancing supplement. I guess a lot of people haven't heard of. I mean, it was developed.
Yeah. I've seen it written and talked about a lot, and just never have really. I guess just because there's so many other things, I'm trying to figure out like what works, what doesn't work, and just like Andy said, guys, you got to figure out what works for you and test. And obviously, we're not doctors, but we learn from people who are and who have used this, and you've just got to test it out. So, man, thanks so much for sharing all of that. Is there anything right now that you're really learning about or into when it comes to health, biohacking, any of that that's maybe a little bit new on your horizon that we wouldn't have talked about last time, maybe in the last 3 or 4 months that you've come across that's like, wow, man, I'm glad I found this. And no pressure if not, but I'm just always curious what people are learning about that's new out there.
Oh, man. I mean, it's just a daily thing. Everything's always getting adjusted. It's just, methylene blue. Dave did a post on it. I had been doing it before he mentioned it in that post, but it's just one of those things that helps with an intermittent fasting lifestyle that I do. So yeah, methylene blue. Let's see. I mean, other than that,
I'm not as familiar with that here. Is that more of a ketogenic type thing since it's helping with fasting, or what's the basis behind that?
ketogenic. That is one thing. It's big. It's becoming so popular, and I just don't even know enough about ketosis, ketogenic. It is part of my intermittent fasting daily routine,
Right.
with this. But as far as I don't even know if I'm in ketosis or not, so I don't want to combine that with it.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, it's a very complex world, but it's, a lot of people talk about it out there. I think it's where everything's going because of just the health benefits that come with it, the cell, stretching your cells a little bit to where they're becoming more resilient, longevity, those sort of things. So yeah, that's awesome. And I know, again, we're probably going to run out of time here. And that's the issue with podcasts is trying to get everything in on time. But, diving into some of your new stuff, I think I just saw today, I post a lot of stuff on social media, but most of that's my team and stuff. But I just saw today that apparently you guys just got your bottle of fragrance in as I was going through.
So we're going to be releasing a pearl cleanser for a facial cleanser, which I don't know if you've seen the ingredients in that, but that actually is, man, that's hard to put into words as far as it's something I'm extremely proud of. As you stay in business, and I'm sure you can relate, and many people out there, I mean, obviously, is the more you're doing a certain thing and you get better at it. And I have more people to consult with, and I have estheticians and product formulators that can really bounce ideas off. And the things are getting better. The products are getting better. So we have that Pearl Cleanser coming out. We have a unisex organic fragrance called Presence that I'm looking at right now. And it, I don't know, did you smell it in the last?
No, I haven't. I've seen people talking about it saying, maybe it smells like vanilla, or something, or hints of vanilla. Maybe that was early on in testing. I'm not sure, but I have not smelled it.
It's a little sandalwood, a little cedar, a little leather and tobacco hint kind of. And then, a little coolness of the vanilla and like cucumber at the end. It is. Oh man. But the thing is, I needed a bottle.
When's that coming? When's that coming out?
Well, so the bottle's it's a custom print job, and we had to do this really complex bottle that, we didn't want to go with the stock bottle. So we wanted to get a custom one done out of Italy. And it's so beautiful when it all comes together exactly how you envision it, and so it takes a little bit longer, but so to answer your question, the bottle's going to get manufactured and sent to my manufacturer and hopefully get filled by October, because they shut down in August. I mean, everything lead time wise, it takes 4 to 6 weeks. And so especially with bottling as well. And I'd like to get a nice box on this too. It takes me back to my days when I was growing up and getting the Calvin Klein CK1 and
yeah, man, I forgot all about that back in the high school days.
So that's the feeling I want everyone to experience with this. I mean, you have one chance to release something. I need it to be perfect. So we're
Absolutely.
it takes a little bit longer. The formula is done. I'm a little obsessive and weird on the bottling process, but it's pretty much done, and we're ready to go.
No, that's awesome. And you've also put out a derma roller, which I heard you talking about at the Bulletproof conference. I had no idea what that even was. And those things they'll bite, won't they? They'll bite on your face a little bit, but
In the best way. And so
yeah, in a good way, really, really good way. And I think you use yours. What I heard is you use the derma roller, the Alitura derma roller, and then you put the mask on after that, and then you shave. I think after that's off, if that's correct. Just trying to let people know how to use it out there if they get it.
right. So the whole idea behind the derma roller is they have these titanium micro needles, right? So they have a 0.25 millimeter, 0.50 millimeter, and 1 millimeter. That really these little titanium needles that you roll across your face in a plus sign and then an X. You can target specific areas. I like the neck, the forehead, and obviously cheek and eye area, the T-zone. And what it does, it maximizes absorption for the mask, for the serum, whatever you put on after it. I'd been using it for a while, and then I went, you know what? Why not create something that's better than the one I'm holding that I was using? So the one I was using had 540 needles. The one that we make has 600. And I think the one I was using was stainless steel. Mine's titanium. And it increases absorption and allows for maximum, so my whole thing now is, like you said, derma roller 1 to 2 times a week. This, depending if it's just a great way to bring up the vibrance of your appearance. I mean, it's undeniably effective as far as absorption. So whether it's my mask, whether it's someone else's product, you're going to get the ingredients to pass that initial layer of skin because you're opening it up almost like you're aerating your lawn.
Yeah.
And so, but you're introducing those micronutrients and those really dense ingredients past that initial layer of skin right into the bloodstream. So
that's what I thought about. It's like that you go to golf courses and these, they got the groundskeepers out there. They've got these spikes on the bottom of their feet. They're walking around out there on the greens. It's like first time I saw that as a kid, I'm like, what in the world are they doing? It's like, oh, they're aerating the greens. No clue what that meant. No joke. Whenever I got the derma roller, I was like, that's the first thing I thought of is like, that's exactly what this is doing. It's getting all the, like in the ground, fertilizer, nutrients, water, all of that's getting down in there. Same thing with your skin. I've never thought about using it on the neck. I mean, that's a new one. I'll have to try that for sure.
So here's another tip. So the old, like when you're done using it on your face, you could probably get like 10 to 15 uses out of it. But when you're done with it, don't toss it. Use it on your scalp. Use the old one on your scalp. And then say I put the mask in my hair. That's like my thing. It just made sense. I don't want to make claims, but a lot of people that are selling their derma rollers, use a lot of hair regrowth claims. I don't want to say that, but, it does make sense that you are opening up the scalp area and really introducing those minerals and those micronutrients into the scalp as well. And so to me, it only makes sense that you're nourishing a potential, like the follicle with minerals like silica, building block, and what our hair protein is essentially made of. So in that, it makes a lot of sense as well. So don't throw away your old derma rollers. Use them for your scalp as well,
Man, that's awesome. So I've heard that said before too, is that like you shouldn't get one and use it over and over and over. Like you need to toss it at some point, but like not toss it, like you're saying, use it on your scalp, but you need to stop using it on your face at some point. I guess maybe the bacteria, something like that gets built up on there. What's the reason for that?
Well, it's taking care of it, maybe keeping it and cleaning it, and alcohol. We recommend alcohol, witch hazel, tea tree, hydrogen peroxide, whatever it may be. As it oxidizes and air hits it, just over time, you don't want to, especially on your face in such a porous area, I recommend every 7 to 10. I'd probably get 10 to 15 uses out of mine here because I just like anything, keeping it away and out of sunlight, out of any dust or something that may settle just naturally from, just in any environment that you're in, and just cleaning it and taking care of it properly. But I think ours is, $29, Rex? So it's $29. I figure if you get 10 uses for $2 just to add that absorption.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty standard. That's what I see for other ones out there as well. So it sounds like yours might be even a little bit better based on the modifications you did on it.
Yeah, it really increases, and maybe you can attest to this too. Like the shaving serum, if you're going to do a mask at night, if you derma roller, mask, serum, night cream, if you have something going on the next day, like a big meeting, big presentation, to anybody out there, that is the routine. It undeniably effective.
So you do the derma roller, you throw the mask on right after that, let it sit on for how long? How long do you typically use your mask?
The mask? So
Like if you're going to shave afterwards, or maybe either way.
So it just depends. So if I have somewhere to be, and I have to, let it I always let it dry completely for that full constriction of the capillaries and really to get that circulation to the surface of the skin going. But sometimes I'll leave it on longer if I don't have anywhere to be. Maybe I'll go out into the sun. They say animals, when they're sick, they roll around in mud and then they lay out in the sun, and it just nourishes them and kind of, gets them back to a healthy state. And so I kind of, sometimes what I'll do is if I don't have anywhere to be, I'll just go out in the sun and really let that, combination of the sunlight and the mask remove those impurities. And it's such a refreshing feeling.
Maybe typically though, maybe 30 minutes. You're leaving it on there?
Oh yeah, sorry, I kind of drifted off there.
No worries. Hey man, when you love your product,
no, seriously, I'm the worst at that. So yeah, till it completely dries, and then hop in the shower, let the water rinse it off. Be careful not to disrupt those capillaries around the eye area. They're very delicate, and once they're gone, they're gone. But yeah, just don't rinse it off too harsh. Let the water take care of it and do its work, and then just gently massage the mask off. Shave if you're a man, or follow with a serum, moisturizer. I use night cream as well. But yeah, it's just you're going to really. It's going to be a little bit of a flush appearance. I'm sure you know what I mean. It's for the first time who haven't. We get emails like, "Oh my God, my face is red. Well, what do I do?" And then I get an email. We respond back to them, "Don't worry, it's normal." Then we get an email back like 30, 45 minutes later going, "I've never felt my skin so smooth."
Yeah, it's so smooth, so smooth. And mine doesn't get as red as it used to. Like I think the first couple of times I used it, the first few times I noticed that like, wow, man, it's like sunburn, almost. And like now I use it and I can hardly tell. And I don't know if my skin just got used to it or if just I'm doing more stuff with derma roller and night cream and all of that that's just making it more, not resilient, but you know what I mean? It's just, it's healthier. And so it's feeding it better, whatever. So man, that is awesome. And I would say, or one question I want to ask you real quick, is the moisturizer the same as the shaving serum? Or those, what I understand, those are two different things. Is that correct?
Yes. So
okay, that's what I thought. I haven't tried either one of those yet, but I want to get the moisturizer. I just haven't done it because I don't put on a lot of moisturizers and stuff during the day. That's why the night cream's been so revolutionary. It's the first like real moisture rich whatever that I've put on my skin and left it there. And so I've got to go get your moisturizer.
Well, how about this? Awesome. I'll send you the new serum today and the moisturizer as well, just as a little thank you for having me on.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah, the serum though. So the thing is with that is it's so concentrated. We don't use any water, and it's marine collagen, CoQ10, sandalwood, frankincense, hemp seed oil. It's all active ingredients. So I mean, a lot of people, you can fill up an ingredient deck, you can fill up a bottle with water, and just hopefully it all condenses and comes together and emulsifies correctly. But we have everything in there as an active ingredient. And so
that's awesome.
In our new formulation of it, we're adding a copper peptide. We're adding vitanol, which is alfalfa form of retinol. We're adding, we have CoQ10 in there. And then the big one is astaxanthin, which we're finding more and more benefits topically. I take it internally. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, like in krill oil.
Yes. And it's this bright red written. So that's one thing that's been difficult in the formulation, is getting that, toning that the redness down, but we got it, and it's just we'll send some of that to you today and check out. It's more of a hydrating treatment for before you go to bed. A serum is meant to really condition as like for long-term benefits of hydrating the skin, but also conditioning, just feeding your skin. I really believe in that. Just recondition. You go to drier areas like Arizona, Colorado, which I have recently, and I know the difference, and I know when my skin is, needs to be, that thirst needs to be quenched. And the serum is what it's just a combination of just a full arsenal of my products. But I know I don't want to sound like I'm just over here just pumping my products, but I believe in what we have.
Yeah, no, I ask you the question, so it's okay. You can pump them all day long. That's awesome. When I ask you the question, you feel full reign, on it. So, well, I know you also did, when was it? Was it in the spring when you were on pitch? Is there anything like that that's coming up anytime soon? I saw you working with some of the Cubs baseball players, earlier in the year and those sort of things. So I know you've got a love for baseball, obviously, from your past, but any more TV appearances coming up soon that are in the works, or you might not be able to talk about them, but if you can.
Well, actually, I decided to, now that I have a team here to pretty much take care, it's just a couple of me's, like they do exactly what I do, and some of them a little bit better than what I do as far as this correspondence. So I'm able to go out and audition if I want to, but I told my agents and my management team that I'm very specific on what I want to audition for. It has to be just, something that I love to do. That's why pitch, like you said, was perfect, because it brought me back to my baseball days, and I booked that role, and it was a dream come true. Seriously, that was one of the best weeks of my life down in San Diego filming that. But to get back into it, it's got to be, because skincare and health and wellness, that's my passion. I mean, this is all I think about. But it is kind of fun just to get back on the acting set and shoot some things. And so I told my agent, so I was like, if it's baseball related, I'll do it. If it's really something that you feel is me, like close to me as a person and not too much homework, then I'll do it. And that may sound weird, but I feel like that's the most fun when you're essentially playing yourself. It's does that make sense? Like,
yeah, no, hey, life's too short to not do stuff that's so much fun, right? I mean, chase after what fuels you. I mean, too many people aren't doing it. That's really cool that you've now, gotten yourself in a position where you can kind of say, look, I'm going to draw this thing up the way I want to. And what a cool story. So, man, I had so many other things that I wanted to ask you, and I know time just flies by, but for the listeners,
another one down the road.
That's right. You better believe I'll ask you. It's always so much fun. And for the listeners who don't know exactly where to find you or Alitura Naturals, where can we steer them in order to get more traffic sent your way?
Sure. Well, thank you. And Jared, I want to give you a little props. I've been watching you as well since you have a very consistent, positive attitude, and you are such a gentleman. Seriously, I appreciate people like yourself, and
man, thank you.
Give yourself a little pat on the back, because you're a damn good human being. And I got to tell you, man, it's been a pleasure knowing you in the short time that I have. So I just want to tell you that. And then
that means a ton. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean that. People out there, this is one good dude, Jared Warren. But so people can find me at alituranaturals.com. That's ALITURANATURALS.com. And I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Andy Hnilo, ANDYHNILO. Also at Alitura Naturals on those different social media channels. And I'd like to offer you and your following a 20% discount off the store if they want to check out the products. And the discount code will just be success. Okay. Just success.
Success 101. If you guys can set it up that way, that's pretty consistent with everything else we do.
Success 101 done. And so, there you go. It's 20% off anything you guys want to check out. If you have any questions, this is me. It's my baby, and I'm happy to answer them. I love what I do.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much. It's always a pleasure. And, more than anything, I'm sure you're the same way. It's like you can go through scripted podcasts and stories, whatever. And some of the most fun and meaningful ones are the ones where you can just, get on with somebody that is a good guy like yourself and just have a ton of fun. And, it's always great. And you better believe I'll be asking you back on. So, thanks so much, buddy. We wish you a ton of continued success and significance out there. And it's been fun watching your rise to what you're doing, and look forward to what's on the horizon for Alitura Naturals and for you.
Hey, thanks. You as well. And a really good job on this podcast. You're doing a really good job.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. Hey guys, I loved having Andy on the podcast today, and hope you guys took a ton away from his message. And also hope you go check out Alitura Naturals and the incredible line of products he's created over there. If you guys would like to connect directly with me, please shoot an email to my team at info@success101podcast.com, or you can catch me in the world of social media on the Success 101 Podcast Facebook community page, on Instagram under the name @Success101Podcast, and also over on Twitter under the name Warren Jared, where I post a ton of relevant news articles and add lots of value to the people in this community. I'll catch you guys on the next awesome episode of the Success 101 Podcast. Until then.